I'm Alex Berninger, and I'm the Senior Manager of Intel at Red Canary, and I'm going to talk about ransomware. So at Red Canary, we see relatively few ransomware intrusions that make it all the way to encryption. However, we do like to watch the trends that are happening within the whole ransomware ecosystem, as well as the tactics and techniques that are happening both at the initial access broker stage, all the way through movement through a system to encryption. So my number one takeaway for ransomware this year is really the proliferation of novel, but perhaps not very sophisticated techniques that were really made popular by Scattered Spider. And by that, I mean really aggressive social engineering techniques. So starting to see a lot more groups that will get on the phone, try calling their victims, calling the families of their victims, email bombing, sending text messages, just the whole gamut and spectrum of social engineering. In addition, seeing a lot of use of remote monitoring and management tools. These tools are really successful for ransomware actors because they oftentimes can use these and blend into the environment, because a lot of companies use these for legitimate business functions. And that has really proliferated across the ransomware ecosystem, that knowledge that they can use an RMM tool to essentially get that backdoor into the system with that veneer of legitimacy. So when I look at the findings that we had this past year from the previous year, I really see a lot of similarities. Just like last year, our visibility into the ransomware intrusion chain really focuses on those initial stages of the intrusion chain. So that initial access, reconnaissance, lateral movement, and command and control. And all of this that occurs between that exfiltration or encryption. This past year, we did see activity related to several ransomware groups, although very few made it to the end stages of that ransomware. So we saw Akira, Play, Fog, Lockbit, Ransom Hub, and Black Basta. We see a lot of activity that we consider to be ransomware precursors. And in fact, a lot of this actually made it into our top 10 for this year. And so some of the things that we consider to be ransomware precursors are Impacket, Mimikatz, Sock Golish, Bootloader, Hijack Loader, and Net Support Manager. And all 6 of those are within our top 10 as we look back past the year. One thing that really surprised me as I looked back at the ransomware trends for the past year was that even though ransomware continues to be a very lucrative business model for criminals, we're seeing really high record level payments going on single intrusions to ransomware actors. The total amount that ransomware actors made last year was actually lower than the previous year. And this adds on to a trend that we've been continually seeing, where a lower percentage of ransomware victims are actually paying the ransom. However, despite this, the actual costs of a ransomware event extend far beyond just the ransom. And one thing that we're starting to see more and more of, particularly since the SEC's requirement to disclose any material cyber events that was instituted in late 2023, we're starting to see a real boon to class action lawsuits. And so essentially, we're seeing this, what we're calling event-driven litigations, where attorneys are watching for those ransomware leak sites or watching for these SEC filings for a ransomware incident and immediately starting that litigation. And this can cost companies a lot of money. For 3 actionable takeaways that I'd like to leave you with, first of all, staying on top of the initial access TTPs that ransomware groups and their affiliates are doing, such as the email flooding techniques that we're seeing from Black Basta affiliates, and really making sure that your employees are educated on those behaviors. Because oftentimes being alerted by your employees will be the first indication that a ransomware incident is starting to take place, as well as instituting the controls to prevent the ransomware intrusion from going further than those initial social engineering tactics. So for example, preventing unauthorized access to Microsoft Teams chats or phone calls. Secondly, make sure that you're enhancing your endpoint visibility by deploying detection and response across all of your systems that you can. Any unmonitored endpoints can create a place where attackers will look for and go to. And if defenders have limited visibility, adversaries can move around there with freedom. The third thing that I'll leave you with is to really take a look at the remote monitoring and management tools that are used within your environment. Identify the ones that are used and allowed, and create a strict allow and block list for those RMM tools, because we're continuing to see more and more ransomware actors and affiliates abusing these tools. Identify what's normal for the RMM tools and look for anything that deviates from that normal.